Hi, hope you guys are having a fine day. It's a nice Sunday afternoon in Berlin. I've ate some steak with a friend and I've played some frisbee. So life is not too bad. And I'm a bit drowsy, but feeling good. And I've got something on my mind at the moment and I wanted to run an experiment. All my previous video essays have been about stuff that I kind of had already worked through and that are like fixtures in my mental world. And this one I'm just now thinking about. I tweeted the other day that it would be nice to if people like manage to write or to share even when they're kind of in the trenches, and that's a bit hard to do that, but it's possible, and I also implored myself to do that, and so I want to give it a try. And I'm not in the trenches insofar as this is a difficult topic, but it's an active topic, and I think I'm in that stage where it's very possible to talk about it and to share about it. And I thought about writing about it, and I kind of want to figure out my process, because I think it's better for me to first talk about it and then write about it. That makes it easier. Talking is a bit looser, I can make more mistakes, and writing kind of hones it down. So this is a little bit of a meta hello when it comes to the process, and let me try to spin up the topic for you guys. So the title of the topic for me is stancing. A stance, as it relates to standing. Like imagine a fighting stance or a dancing stance. It's kind of a way of standing. It's also a way of standing in relation to other things. So multiple things can have stances towards each other, if that makes sense. And how is this useful? So I think that you can have a stance to something that is like not useful, and you can have a stance towards the same thing that is useful. This relates a bit to Do What Works, one of the previous essays. And so what's a good example? So I recently had a fight with someone, and I got into that fight, and when we were already fighting, I was kind of pushing the issue, and I just went away from the fight, kind of hung up the phone. I was really pissed off. Immediately I start thinking, okay, what went wrong here, right? And in part, okay, how have I been done wrong? That's one part, but there's also a question of how did I do them wrong? And for me, that's in this case can be the question of what stance did I take that wasn't working? And so pushing the issue on something that doesn't want to be pushed, for example. So I would, if we were standing, you the watcher of this video and I standing together now, I would demonstrate this with my body in the terms of like maybe where you're standing like face on, maybe you want to stand, I don't know, I can't do this, maybe you want to stand sideways, maybe you don't want to block the energy, maybe you want to let it through, maybe instead of saying stance, you want to have a asking stance. Maybe instead of like friendly soft suggestion stance, you want to have a provocative stance, and so on and so on. And the question is like which stance is a working one and which isn't. I also am thinking about sexuality a lot at the moment, and then what comes into play is stancing as a kind of thinking about lovers or partners or people who have sex together in a physical form or in a verbal form or however. Funny things happening. How are your stance towards each other, even in the in love play? You know, when you think about a bit of role play, a little bit of character play. These are stances that you're taking towards each other. And they can be very, very finely tuned. There's obviously the classic ones in sexuality are related to dominance and submission, but they can also be related to care or I don't know, nothing else comes to mind. There's a lot more research to be done, I suppose. You know, even when you're, let's say, partners in bed, for example, we often take different stances towards each other. It's kind of like playing a different game and changing characters and changing roles and so on, so on and so forth. And this then also applies to work. I think in life it's very possible to just inhabit many different characters depending on what you currently need. And many problems can be solved with the correct stance. I mean, one stance towards a problem can, for example, be that it's not actually a problem. Now everything changes. Maybe you're saying, I have money problems. Whatever that means for you. But what if you say, I don't have money problems? Like, I don't know if you get that, but you can just kind of say that and see what happens. What if you try to let that be true? Yeah, I've definitely done that a lot in my life and just kind of gymnastic my way around problems. And it can actually work. There's this thing, I think, is it called The Work? Or is it The Secret? I think it's The Work, not The Secret. And part of that practice, it's kind of like a self-help practice, is to state problems the other way around. Exactly like I just described it. Turn I have an X problem to I do not have an X problem. And just kind of asking the question, what if the opposite is true? So you can stance yourself towards things. You can ask other people to stance themselves differently towards you, if they are capable of that. You can some traffic. If you have something that you relate to as an object, like so not a person, but like a problem, let's say, you can change the way it's facing you, aka change the stance. So it's a very like shape rotating type of thing. It's a very physical thing. And let me see. I was I had something in my mind where I wanted to go. But yeah, I think these are like the basics of what I understand as stancing. Yeah, so a reference from the I Ching, the Book of Changes, which I study a lot, in which it says, and I paraphrase of course, that's nice. Nice little American car. Where it says there is fate in the world. So the world is kind of like not unlimited things. The world has certain shapes and forms, and it is best for you to recognize them, and then whatever it says, but in my language it would be stance yourself accordingly. So recognize the world as it is, and then adjust yourself to that. And then it continues along the lines of there's fate in every person, and this fate is unchangeable, so to speak. Recognize that fate in you, and again, stance yourself accordingly. And then the fate will align, the power of the fate will align with your personal power. And you will have the power of fate on your side, so to speak. You could call it the power of God if you wanted to. It's something akin to swimming in the direction of the stream. Doing what works, doing what is easy, following the flow, but with a little motion metaphor of stance put in front of it. That, I would say, is what I'm trying to convey. And I don't know. Nice sky, nice afternoon, beautiful day. Summer might be coming to an end. Hopefully it stays around a little bit, but today is a beautiful summer day, that's for sure. Yeah, I hope this is making some sense. I hope greetings to future Simon who's gonna watch this and see if it makes sense. Maybe I'll write about this, maybe I'll make more sense of it. Hit me with a comment if you think anything about this, if this is sensible or helpful. I feel like the same topics come up again and again. I'm sure I've thought about this before, but right now it's active in me and it has a name, so I want to give it space. I hope that's cool. So I feel good about this video and this explanation, so I'm uploaded, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful time. See you when I see you again. Much love.